Yeah, but look at the views. Look at the views. Yeah, but this is beautiful.
In this series, I ride the Big Three to commemorate the extraordinary legacy of Thomas Bain, master road builder in South Africa. This is the spectacular Swartberg Pass, the challenging Baviaanskloof, and the beautiful Prince Alfred's Pass. It takes me on a journey of more than 2,200 kilometers from Cape Town all the way to Port Elizabeth and back. Thanks for joining me on this experience and to share the views.
Hello and welcome back to Werner's View. Yeah, I'm starting here in the Gamkaskloof. So I've just departed here from Fonteinplaas in Gamkaskloof in the Hell. I had a wonderful stop there. I had a chat with the owners, Marinette and Peter Hubert. That was quite interesting because they are one of the last families that still own property in the Gamkaskloof. So they are Peter Hubert is the 5th generation family member on the farm. Originally it was the Mustards, and yeah, it's interesting because this valley of course had many farming activities, but it is now much more isolated. If you've not seen how I ended up in Gamkaskloof or the Hell, please go back and have a look at my previous video where I rode all the way from Prince Albert and the Swartberg Pass and also Elands Pass down to the Gamkaskloof Valley. What a lovely ride, what a challenge. It is just fantastic to do this on my Honda CRF 300 Rally. But where are we going with this trip? So I'm still of course in the Gamkaskloof, and I'm just riding in further a few kilometers just to go and look at some of the few historic things that are still remaining here in Gamkaskloof. But maybe, as I mentioned in the previous video, just a little bit of short history. So this valley was discovered in the early 1800s, and then it was settled by the first farmer, Peter Swanepoel, in 1830, and shortly after that a number of other families followed. So the surnames that are quite prominent here is Marais, Mostert, Hubert, Nel, Cordier. Those are the surnames that you will see here, and so you can see that Hubert family on Fonteinplaas is still remaining. But yeah, the history of this valley is interesting because of its isolation. So it was not possible to ride in with a ox wagon or later by car. You can only walk, and you could only walk, and maybe by donkey also you could get in. And only in 1962 a road was built from the Swartberg Pass to the Gamkaskloof. Now that road is quite an ominous road still. I mean, it is steep down. It just shows why it was so difficult to build and why it took such a long time for a road to be built. So yeah, the road was built in 1962, and then interestingly that road actually resulted in this valley, the people in the valley leaving the valley. The younger people, once they started attending school and got exposed to other things in the wide world, they didn't want to return, and over time all these farms were sold to Cape Nature, the Cape Conservation, and now it is a nature reserve. But it does allow us to come and reflect a bit on the history of this place. So this Gamkaskloof Valley, I'm not sure how far you can really go, but I think at least another 20 kilometers or so you can ride down the valley. But it remains narrow. At its widest point it is about 600 meters wide, so it does open up a bit. Let me just get through this riverbed. You can see the roads down as well as the road in the valley is is not good. I mean, you need a proper vehicle or a motorbike like the CRF to really ride these roads. There's 2 or 3 places I want to stop, so let me just see. The first place is, I think, the school, because this community, I mean, at the heyday of this community, it was about 160 people that stayed here in this valley, and they farmed this valley for about 130 years. So they had to look after themselves. I mean, they had to support themselves, so they built a school. I think they also used that school for church. So I just want to go and see if we can find... Okay, let's make a stop here first. This is the Marinette family cemetery. Let's just have a look. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, these families stayed in isolation here. So what they say here at the information is that, of course, the families, they didn't have a pastor. So many times the teacher of the school was the one presiding over burials, and all the families had their own, say, private cemetery spaces. And this one is one of the most prominent ones. The Marinette family was prominent in this valley, and it still contains the remains of the Marinettes. It was established in the early 1900s. So you can see some of the graves. It's got information on them. Yeah, Marinette. The surname of Marinette is quite prominent. I think what is quite sad is that these ones to the sides, obviously, some of them are a bit smaller. So yeah, this one here, for example, the child only lived about 1.5 years. Shame. So it is, I suppose it was quite a bit of a hard life as well, being so isolated, not having free access to services. Maybe getting to a doctor was almost impossible. But this is the history of this kloof, the Gamkaskloof. Sure, it's heating up now. I just opened up a bit of the air vents. So this is the house of Sanki Mare, so it must have been a prominent person. Small little houses, but quite quaint. Yeah, so getting some air flowing is at least cooling me down a bit. This is more one from mud. But yeah, thank you for joining me again on this trip and also joining this series. I'm calling this series Riding the Big Three, and this is of course in the context of a master road builder, Thomas Bain. And the first of these big 3 rides is the Swartberg Pass, which I already started in the previous video and we will continue today. But of course later in this series of trips, this is a multi-day trip. I'm on the bike for a week, and the turning point is going to be Port Elizabeth. So when I return from Port Elizabeth, I'm also planning to ride 2 other big passes. But let me just get through. Yo, this is significantly yo, bumpy in stones. Yo, okay, I made it. Now, this road is not for the faint-hearted. So the 2 big other passes or roads that Thomas Bain built that I want to ride on this trip is Baviaanskloof. So that's about 200 kilometers of Thomas Bain, and then the other big pass, Prince Alfred Pass from Uniondale to Knysna is the other big one. So arguably those are the 3 big road building projects that Thomas Bain has dedicated his life to, and this series is all about riding it. So I think it's down here is the school. You just go down. But you need to boonderbash a bit here. Let me just get a bit of speed into it, then it becomes a bit easier. Yeah, indeed, here is the school. So let's just make a stop here. I made a stop here at the school and also the house of the schoolmaster.
here in Gamkaskloof. So this is quite interesting. I checked here on the information board. This part of the kloof is actually called Fonteinplaas, so it's been the middle farm. Apparently there is another one, another school was built at Baviaanskloof, so that is maybe the top farm in 1904, but the one that we are seeing here behind us was built in 1928. So I mean, this was a prominent place because this is where the children could get taught, and they could attend classes here until grade 8. And apparently there were still school activities here until 1980, when the people in the kloof would become just too few to maintain it. But apparently there's always been a schoolmaster or a teacher here, and the building was multi-purpose. Yes, for school, but it was also used for other gatherings of the community and also for church services and so on. Yeah, so I find it fascinating. I mean, the whole valley's got this eerie feeling of, yeah, it's of desolation. I mean, people left it, so there was activities for 130 years, and now suddenly there's just nothing. So well, let's go and have a closer look at the buildings. We can unfortunately not go inside, it is locked, but let's have a bit of a look from the outside. So the building on the right is known as Meester's Huis. So this is the house of the master. So I'm not sure, I think it might be a house that these days still being rented out for self-catering, but it looks a bit dilapidated here. There's a pool, but yeah, I suppose maybe one can stay in this house. Yeah, as I said, we cannot look inside, but it gives you a bit of a sense of where, or the environment where the schoolmaster had to make sure the children are taught. And then the slightly taller building next to it, this is the school. Thatched roof. So it's almost 100 years old. Seeing that this was then built in 1928. I can see that the footpath leading up to the school is caving in a bit. But what is nice about coming here is that many of these buildings and old historical sites, there is some more information. So you can see, for example, there's even some photos here. This one shows, it says Mr. Gerber and the pupils of Fonteinplaas School in 1950. So there's the teacher and the children. There's a photo of children on their way to school. And then that one is in 1973, when the school still had 11 pupils. I find this interesting. Yeah, but it is heating up now. I will have to keep on moving to remain cool. So there's one more place that I just want to make a quick stop. So let's go. Okay, so I'm just continuing with this little side road. I don't think this is a road that is used very much. It's quite overgrown by these acacias, the thorn trees. But as far as I can remember, this will take us to the house of Leni Marais. Now, as already mentioned, the Marais family, as we saw at the cemetery, was quite a prominent family in this valley. And Leni Marais is arguably the most formidable person that stayed in this valley. So I just want to go and have a quick look at her house. So apparently Leni Marais was a renowned teacher, baker and medicinal plant expert. So she probably acted as doctor for the people in the kloof as well. Yeah, here in front is their house. So I think it has been beautifully restored. What I just find interesting about this house is that apparently Leni Marais built it herself in 1928. And it is mentioned that she had a husband, Willem. I'm not sure what Willem did. Maybe he was a farmer, probably as all people in this area. But it is quite specific that she built this house. And today you can rent this house for a self-catering. I see the baboons are playing around here. But yeah, it's interesting. So you can see the house almost even has a little bit of a gable here on this side, thatched roof. And then she also had an outside shed here.
which he decorated with some glass bottles and so on. But yeah, it is a bit dilapidated, so yeah, I suppose maintenance of these houses and areas are not that easy. So this is Leni Marais' house, and then I see there is a house up there, Willem Marais. Now, I'm not sure if Willem Marais and Leni didn't stay in the same house, but it's interesting. But I'm going to turn around now in the kloof. I'm going to head back out. So as I mentioned, if you watched the previous video, you will know that I came down the Elands Pass, which yeah, is a bit hair-raising, and I will now take the road out. So if you want to see how I rode down Elands Pass, please go and have a look at the previous video. But in this video I will just show you a few glimpses of what it takes to ascend or to go up that pass, which is very steep. I mean, I will go up 477 meters in the distance of 4.7 kilometers. So that gives it an average gradient of 1 to 10, which I find that is quite significant. And as I mentioned previously, what is interesting about the pass is it is tight and steep and tight turns and so on, but then it's also rough. I mean, it's stones and loose stones, and you need to be careful. So it's a bit of a challenge. So I will have to be on top of my game to just ride this safely. But even the roads down here in the kloof is keeping one on one's toes. But when I came in, it took me about 2 hours to ride from the Swartberg Pass down to Gamkaskloof. It's already now 20 past 12 in the afternoon. But I have not even mentioned what is the final destination for today. This will be the quaint and beautiful little town of De Rust. Oh, let me just get through these stones again. Okay, all good. I think this is a house that we may have missed when I came in. Let's just have a look. See, built from mud. Oh yeah, it's called the honeymoon house. But they put a roof on top of it now because this seems to be almost fully built out of mud. So it is quite vulnerable to the elements. But I must say it is quite nice to just get a bit of air flowing. I opened the air vents on my jacket. There was somebody that asked me on the channel what are the clothes that I wear, and yeah, I wear this Octane product, which I find very comfortable and quite sturdy. So I feel quite protected when I ride in it. This jacket has got an inner that I can, two inner actually, just one to give more warmth, but also a rain jacket that goes inside, and then when it heats up like this I take out both of them, and then you have the option to open the air vents. So the jacket and the pants are matching, and the pants also has some air vents which I've not opened yet, but I will see how hot it gets. For now it feels quite comfortable. Here is the camping site. I'm passing the camping site now that is part of the Fonteinplaas establishment. So I departed here from Fonteinplaas at the start of this video. So if you're looking for a place to stay, make contact with Marinette at Fonteinplaas. I will put the details, her contact details in the video description. She will sort you out. They know everything about this kloof and the area here, and they've got a wonderful place to just get a cool drink and relax a bit in their garden. And yeah, probably the best camping spots in the Gamkaskloof. So this is Fonteinplaas, the entrance. Look out for the donkey. The donkey is the sign that you've made it to Fonteinplaas. Okay, but now off to Elands Pass. Yeah, it's unfortunate that all these trees have burned down in a devastating fire a few years ago. But it actually, to me, it gives a bit of an eerie sense to the Gamkaskloof, because in many ways Gamkaskloof is a mystical place. I mean, it's been in isolation and people stayed here away from the broader society, and then it also now became a ghost valley in many senses. I mean, 160 people stayed here at its heyday, and now there's nobody left basically. So one cannot help to think that there must be quite a few ghosts walking around here. And then these burnt out trees just adds to that sense of eeriness. Yeah, so this is now at the eastern end of the Gamkaskloof valley, and you can see that it is surrounded by these steep mountains. You will not be able to see it, but the Elands Pass now goes up that part. It almost feels like it goes over the highest part. Then it goes over that very, very high neck area over there. Okay, let's go. I might not get further than second gear for all of this pass. But what fun to ride. And yeah, I think the Honda CRF 300 Rally eats this for breakfast. No problem. But just look back at the Gamkaskloof Valley. How beautiful, and just displaying the Swartberg Mountains. Yeah, these action cameras, steepness cannot be captured, but I can assure you this is proper climbing. Yeah, I'm giving these tires of mine a workout. In the previous video I talked about the new tires I've got. So at the back the Dunlop D606, which is a proper off-road tire, but also I've more recently changed the front tire to the Pirelli MT21. So that is why I want these tires. I mean, although I might do a lot of tar road riding as well, I want to be able to, with confidence, ride these roads. And I think these are the kind of tires that gives me the opportunity. But yeah, you are welcome to share your thoughts, what you think about the Dunlop D606 for the back and the Pirelli MT21 for the front. I did not consider I have considered, but I didn't opt for the D606 in the front because it just didn't get that good reviews. So whereas the Pirelli MT21 seems to be quite a preferred choice, but so far so good. I cannot say that I'm struggling with any grip issues in the front or the back. But yeah, it's a bumpy ride. This gives one quite a good look at how this pass snakes down. Sure. And then the road disappears there in the distance in the valley. But yeah, I don't know how far it is still to go to the top, but we are still climbing. The Gamkaskloof. What a fascinating place to visit. And if you're interested to have a challenge of a road to get there, this is it. But there is very interesting history there. I'm sure you will agree with me. I think we might be quite close to the summit of Elands Pass now. And we are still descending, but not as steep. Okay, and the first time in third gear since I started 4 kilometers ago. So yeah, we are at the top. Oh, so nice to get some air flowing. Also the air is a bit cooler at this altitude, because we will basically link up with the Swartberg Pass close to its summit, and the summit of Swartberg Pass is 1,585 meters, so it is quite high up. But it's another 33 kilometers before we actually link up with Swartberg Pass. Yeah. So that gives you the view of, yeah, from the summit of Elands Pass. We're going to go down and then have to climb out a bit again to meet up at the Swartberg Pass at its summit. I had a pizza last night in Prince Albert, and I have 2 pieces remaining that I've packed for myself, so I think that will be a good snack for lunch. So I will just have to find a place to stop, but maybe only once I get to the Swartberg Pass. Let me get this difficult section done. The more difficult, the more enjoyable, I must say. Difficult is not bad, but there are a few parts that is a bit technical on this road. We are going down quite a bit. Yo, this section is steep down. Oh, the road makes a twist there before it gets to that side, it seems. Yeah. It doesn't feel real that the road is still going there. You see it making it's making a very tight turn here. This is a proper downhill. Yeah, the valley is opening up a bit now. We're just about 14 kilometers away from connecting up with the Swartberg Pass. But yo, the vegetation is just beautiful here. Of course, riding this road, you are treated with the most beautiful mountain views. No matter what direction you look, when it is just beautiful. Now the Swartberg Mountains is really probably some of the most beautiful in the country. Okay, let me make a stop here under the tree for a bit of a break. What a ride. I'm now almost back to the top of Swartberg Pass, so where the Gamkaskloof road turns off. But I'm just going to take a bit of a break. I need my lunch. I've got my pizza slices that I've packed in for myself. And then I'm just going to enjoy these beautiful, beautiful views amongst the proteas. The proteas are simply stunning here. I think Annelie would have loved it. Yeah, so I need to get some fluid in, some food, and then we are back on the road. Yeah, maybe an apple. And of course, my pizza slices. A bit messed up in this little Tupperware holder of mine. But I think a piece of pizza and an apple will now be very welcome. Okay, that is much better. Cold pizza slices have never tasted this good. So I'm feeling much more refreshed. Also had a nice apple. And now we are almost connecting up where we turned off in the previous video. So we are back at the Swartberg Pass, and I expect the road to be much better, of course, than the Gamkaskloof road. Oh, just look at all these proteas. It's so welcoming at this turnoff. I made the comment in the previous video as well, but they're just abundant here. Yeah. Okay, so we make the turn to the right and link up with the spectacular Swartberg Pass. Okay, all good. So, as you know, this series is entitled Riding the Big Three, and we are certainly riding on the first of the big three passes or major road projects that Thomas Bain has completed, and this is the Swartberg Pass. And we are now going to go down on the southern side. It's significantly cooler now, so I closed my air vents a bit on my jacket. So I'm not sure if it will heat up a bit on the other side, but typically the southern side is cooler. It's also more rainy. That is where you go to the Kloof, where there's more rain, and the Swartberg mountain is typically quite a barrier for clouds and so on to come in. But yeah, what a pleasure to just continue riding this magnificent pass. Maybe just to remind you, I mean, Thomas Bain already built this pass in 1883, and in 1888 it was inaugurated. And a century later, in 1988, it was declared a provincial heritage site, this whole pass. Yeah, it's just so beautiful. Yeah, this road is certainly much smoother than the Gamkaskloof road. But what a fun ride that was. The visit to that Gamkaskloof valley with all its interesting history. But as I mentioned, our end destination for today is the Rust. I'm actually staying in a place about 4 or 5 kilometers before the Rust, so I will still see whether I actually get to the town of the Rust today or whether we will get to see that only tomorrow. But what I want to do now is I want to make a stop at the Cango Caves. Now the Cango Caves is only 26 kilometers from here, so it's not so far to go. And the Cango Caves is no doubt the most well-known cave structure in South Africa. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it is such a magnificent cave. I'm going to check it out. I'm not sure whether I will be able to get access or in. I also need to check whether I can park the bike with all my luggage and so on safely. So this will all be very much depending on a few factors. But I will go and check it out. So we are riding on the R328. And if you just stay on this R328, you will get to the Cango Caves. So at some point I think it becomes a tar road again. But how fortunate are we that the Swartberg Pass is still a dead road. With rough patches, you can see, not getting away from the rough patches. But yeah, not as bad as Gamkaskloof. Just maybe coming back to Thomas Bain, I think he's probably the most well-known road builder in South Africa. He, of course, built many roads, and he followed up where his father left his building projects, because Andrew Bain, his father, also built many roads, but I think Thomas Bain built many more, and he certainly got his skills in training from his father. But this Swartberg Pass that he completed, what is it, around 1888, was the last of his 17 road projects that he built. And I think it is the crowning masterpiece of his road building history and legacy in South Africa. It's just magnificent. And of course, the Swartberg Pass, one of the main reasons why it was built was because the other access ways through the Swartberg, which is the Seweweekspoort, more to the west, and then Meyringspoort, more to the east from here, were both poorte. So it means that they just followed the riverbeds and they were very, very prone to flooding. So it seems like this is actually the top of Swartberg Pass. Now here it says the top, or the top, and the altitude 1,575 meters. Yeah, so certainly you have views to both sides, looking back to the Great Karoo and Prince Albert, and then now towards the Klein Karoo. Let's go. There's probably quite a significant bit of descending to go. Yeah, but look at the views. Look at the views. Yeah, but this is beautiful. Yeah, so this is the southern side of the Swartberg Pass. You can see how neat the building work is. The dry stone walling, that must be the original building work of the 1880s, and it is still intact today as at the time it was built. It's just beautiful. There's dry stone walling, you see it all the way now. You must have quite a good skill to do this, to use this method without cement and so on, to just pack it in such a way that it simply remains intact. Not quite sure how it works, but I know it's called dry stone walling, and it's apparently a technique that Thomas Bain has perfected, certainly standing the test of time. Yeah, so this is the mountain pass, the southafrica.co.za info board. Yes, 1888 was the completion. It says here the summit is 1,583. You certainly do have more sweeping views from the southern side. If you enter the pass from the northern side there from Prince Albert, you are first twisting through a few narrow parts and cannot see back so easily. We are now at the lower slopes of the Swartberg Pass, and indeed now the road becomes tar. So since I departed from Prince Albert this morning, I only done 120 kilometers. I departed just after 7 and it's now 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so 120 kilometers. If that is the only distance you can do in a day's ride, it tells you something about how rough the roads were. How relaxing to suddenly be a bit on the tar road and to ride without concentrating too much on the road. You can just enjoy these spectacular views. Yeah. It seems like we are at the entrance of the cave, or the caves. Let me see what it looks like there at the top level. Wat is jou naam? Aubrey. Gaan jy kyk na my bike? Want hier is baie goed wat kan wegraak, né? Is dit so jy gaan nog hier so wees tot daai tyd? Hierso, is it right? I made a stop there at Aubrey, the car guard, and he said absolutely no problem. He will look after the motorbike, so I can go and have a look at the cave. So my timing is also not so bad. It is now about 25 past 3 and the next tour to go in is at 4 o'clock. So it just works out perfectly. So maybe I can just browse around a bit to see what is there. Now I'm looking forward to seeing these caves. I have seen it before, but many years ago, and I'm quite pleased to bring this to you. I think the one key thing about the Cango Caves is the sheer scale of this. I mean, that first hall of the cave is as big as a football field. One tends to think of caves as small. The Cango Caves is nothing but small, and it's also very, very long. I mean, it's about 4 kilometers that one can potentially go in, and the first kilometer is open to the public. So Yeah, let's go and have a look. So the ticket is here to the right hand side. Yeah, quite a nice foyer area here. Okay, so I now bought a ticket for the basic tour. It's a guided tour. There's two packages. The one is the basic, like I bought. That takes you to the first 6 chambers of the cave. And then there's also the adventure package that takes you much further into the cave. But I just want to have a bit of a look at the first few chambers. But if you're up to it, there are some very narrow passages and so on that you can slide through if you want to get a real squeeze experience in a cave. Now, maybe just a little bit of history. The Cango Caves was discovered, or well, newly discovered in 1780. That's now after the Khoi people that were there, by a person called Jacobus van Zyl. And he stumbled upon it. And when he entered, he didn't realize how big this cave is. And it was later discovered when he was lowered down on a rope that the first hall is as big as a football field. And I know that it's been used as a concert venue and concert hall in previous occasions as well. Yeah, so the lady at the gate is a bit surprised that I'm speaking Afrikaans. It seems like this is a place that many or mostly foreign tourists come to. But yeah, you can see quite an impressive entrance to the cave. Sure. This is a massive, massive hall. Yeah, so this is the Van Zyl's hall, and indeed, it is a huge space. One can see how it almost disappears there in the distance. One can just imagine walking into that relatively small entrance space and then not realizing how big this space is. So the lady, our guide, said that the Khoisan people didn't come to this hall because they were superstitious. And so further exploration of this cave only came later, after the 1780s. And apparently Jacobus van Zyl discovered this in 1780, but the second hall, and there is more, the second hall was only discovered in 1792, so 12 years later. I find that fascinating. This second chamber is certainly unbelievably spectacular. It is just amazing how huge it is and all the different cave facets that it does contain. Sure. Now this was certainly a fascinating look at the Cango Caves. Highly recommend it. If you ever find yourself in this area and not seen this, I cannot overemphasize the scale of these caves. Those first 2 chambers are massive, and that second chamber is absolutely beautiful. I mean, the formations, the stalagmites, stalactites, and the flow, the rocks and so on that you see is just amazing. So no, this was a great visit. Bye! Dankie, dankie! What a friendly man. Aubrey, the car guard. He did so well to just look after my bike, because I just left everything, all my equipment, all my money, everything on the bike, and I could just trust him to look at it. So it allowed me to just freely walk around in the cave. But yo, Cango Caves, how good is that? Now you can certainly consider visiting the Cango Caves if you've not done this before. You will not be disappointed. So now I actually have to push a bit. The end destination of this trip is the Rust, but I will stop for the night about 4 kilometers or so before the Rust at a place called De Rustica. Okay, there's a turn here. Good. I've never ridden or driven this road, so let's see. Aubrey says it starts with tar. I think then later it might become a bit of dirt road, but he said they are working on this road. But just look how nice it goes here in between the higher mountain areas. Yeah, it's much more beautiful than I thought it's going to be. And of course we are hugging the Swartberg mountains quite closely. Okay, there the tar is now stopping. Ah, how much fun! Some more dirt roads. I have no idea what the condition of this road is, but it cannot be worse than Gamkaskloof road. It should be fine. But this little road is now absolutely a bonus. It's such a beautiful, lovely little road to ride. I think this is the place actually. My GPS says another 1.2, but I think I may have put it in wrong. So let me just go and check here. Yeah, because the accommodation looks like this. It's like stables. Ah, what a friendly reception here at the Rustica by Amanda. Very neat, beautiful place. So I'm staying in reconverted stables for the night. Now, so here you can see the garden area. Oh, what a fantastic evening. It's so lovely outside. So you can see all the units are just here, all in a row, but it's obvious. Old stables. And mine is here more or less in the middle. So it's got seemingly the original stable doors, and yeah, then just a very, very neat room. There is a double bed, and there is the bathroom with a very nice shower. I will get into it shortly because I am quite dirty after today. And then there's also a little nook here where there's tea and coffee facilities as well as a fridge. But the place also has got its own kitchen. So let me just show you what the kitchen area looks like. So there is a communal braai area. And then it's got a fully equipped kitchen and dining area here. So if you want to make yourself some food, everything is here. Big fridge, dishwashing area, big gas hob, microwave oven, toaster, you name it. Yeah, so this is the Rustica. How nice is this? Well, this brings me to the end of the video for today, and the trip that started there from Gamkaskloof, from Fonteinplaas. Now, what a ride. It was quite a hectic road, I must admit. It is tough to ride. I think my total distance that I have ridden today is about 160 kilometers. But it was tough riding, and I can feel it a bit in my muscles and my bones tonight. But it was so lovely. I mean, that Gamkaskloof, the Elands pass, I mean, that is an achievement. And then also coming down the Swartberg Pass on the southern side, how beautiful. So beautiful. And then I think the Cango Caves here in the end was just a little bit of a bonus. How lovely. Highly recommend it. If you ever want to visit Cango Caves, don't hesitate. It is absolutely worth it. Yeah, but the haridas are busy there in the background. But I need to get clean. I need to get something to eat, and I need to prepare also for tomorrow. If you enjoyed the video of today, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, please. Until tomorrow, and keep well. Bye bye.